Okay, everybody, good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well on this Monday. Didn't have a video this morning. Didn't really have much to talk about. Didn't really have a lot to go into. I kind of said everything that needed to be said yesterday. We know who we're going to play next. We didn't play a game this week, so there's not really a lot to go into from any kind of injury perspective that we didn't already know. So figured I'd just go ahead and not post anything this morning, but we're in the afternoon now. We have a series of updates concerning this upcoming game against the 49ers. Thought it'd be good to go ahead and just wrap it all into one video and go over it. And we also have a little bit of updates concerning the other NFC playoff game, which is obviously very relevant to the Seahawks' interests. Even if the Seahawks weren't in the postseason, it would be relevant to our interests. So let's spin around a little bit and talk about what there is to talk about. All right, everybody, before we go any further into the video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about a wonderful app called Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat about sports in real time with other users. You can get all kinds of scores, sports news, and sports alerts with blazing fast speed. And of course, you can play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports with other people in a community. Download the Sleeper app today and remember to use the promo code SBN, that is SBN, for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And they also have a free $20 entry right now, no deposit required. So pair those two up. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. Check out the Sleeper app and have fun with sports this year. Okay, so obviously I'm kind of reiterating stuff that we've already talked about, but the Seahawks don't practice today. They're not going to release an injury report today, so just kind of reverting back to the most recent information we have. Um the injury situation with Seattle is very, very good. As per the latest reports from multiple people, including Brady Henderson, who is very reliable in this regard, Charles Cross and Kobe Bryant, who both missed the last game the Seahawks played against the 49ers. What was it? 10 days, 9 days ago, are expected to return for the game against the Niners this time. So those are your two main injuries, and they're both expected to be back. So right now, the only question marks in terms of injury for Seattle are Elijah Arroyo, who practiced all of last week and seems like he has a pretty good chance to get activated for this game, and George Halani, who is a third string running back and would probably only play a couple of snaps a game even if he was healthy. So it's a pretty sweet situation to be in health-wise. This team is as healthy as you're ever going to find a late season, postseason team. The only player of any real consequence that we're likely to miss on Saturday is Torrey Horton. And I don't think Horton would play that much in the postseason anyway because it's the playoffs, and I think teams are always going to favor their veterans in situations where a postseason game is there. So I know some people had it in their head that when Torrey Horton got back, he would take a bunch of snaps from Cooper Kupp and maybe even a little bit from Shaheed, but those guys are veterans. Horton's a rookie. I don't think this coaching staff would take away snaps from those guys to give it to a rookie in a playoff game. That just tends to be the pattern with NFL teams in general, I feel like. So the Seahawks are very healthy. Now, we know what's going on with the 49ers. Shanahan's already said that Kittle tore his Achilles. He's done. Fred Warner, he commented on Fred Warner yesterday and said that he is unlikely to play. And coming from Shanahan, that means you can basically put it in pen. No Fred Warner. And we also got this last night. I didn't see this last night. Jair Brown also got hurt against the Eagles yesterday, which there is definitely some consequence here. He had a hamstring injury, and according to Shanahan, he's a long shot for next week, but they won't know for sure until today. So at this point, I would kind of go forward assuming that Jair Brown is going to be missing this game. Now, that means Siegel, is backup, is going to be playing a lot. And there is a little bit of a give and take there where it seems like Siegel, I think that's how you pronounce it, is better against the run and a better tackler, but he's also a much bigger liability in coverage. based on my cursory research into the situation. That seems to be what's going on there. So maybe it gives them a little bit more ability to stop the run, but this might be a great game to pull out a JSN double move or a Rashid Shaheed double move, especially because the 49ers have no pass rush. So that's a little bit of a give and take there, but obviously Jair Brown, if he was the starter, which I believe that he still was considered the starter, it's because that Niners coaching staff views him as the better player. So there is going to be some loss if they do not have him, and it looks like they won't. So that was something that I wasn't made aware of during the game last night, or yesterday afternoon rather, but there will be certainly an impact from that. And speaking of the 49ers pass rush, this is also kind of interesting. Earlier today, the Houston Texans released Darrell Taylor off their roster. He's finally healthy, but they've decided they don't want him. Now, I'm not saying Seattle should get him. I don't think there's any real need for a pure pass rusher that can't stop the run like a Darrell Taylor when we have all four of our edge rusher guys healthy right now with Nwosu, Hall, Lawrence, and Mafe. But the interesting thing here, and the thing to keep an eye on, would be the fact that the 49ers have such a bad pass rush right now. Like even yesterday when they won the game, they got no pass rush whatsoever on Hurts, and the Eagles were playing a third string right tackle. Darrell Taylor may end up getting signed by the Niners, and he may end up playing against Seattle this weekend because they are just that desperate for some kind of pressure off the edge. So don't be surprised if we see Taylor this weekend in the opposing team's uniform. All right, so a couple of other things about this game before we get out of here while we're here. First of all, we've been assigned a referee. It's John Hussey. And I don't know a lot about John Hussey as a referee. From my little bit of research, the Seahawks do have a winning record in games where John Hussey is the referee, which, I mean, that's not necessarily saying a lot because Seattle as a team has had a winning record for John Hussey's entire refereeing career, obviously, because they've been a winning team for quite some time. But he also tends to favor the home team based on what I've seen. So, I mean, it's just another thing to consider when you're planning this game out in your head. Does seem like John Hussey favors the home team if he favors anybody, or at the very least, we can say that home teams usually win when he is the referee. And we also have an early weather forecast of this game, and it's looking relatively tame according to the forecast here, which is obviously a ways out. So definitely make sure to check the forecast again between now and game time. But according to Corbin here, Saturday is going to be sunny, 39 to 49 degrees, no tremendous chance of rain. In fact, very little chance of rain. Now, rain is something that is much harder for the 49ers to deal with than the Seahawks. Brock Purdy has a known track record of not really being good in the rain, and it seems like bad weather can affect him negatively. But at the same time, the Seahawks are not exactly overly experienced playing in bad conditions either. So it's not like that would be some massive advantage in some overt and obvious way. So we've got a pretty reasonably well-conditioned game coming up this weekend, it looks like. I don't think the conditions are going to have a big impact here. It's not going to be anywhere near freezing, it looks like. So just another game, which on the one hand, you could say that is good for the Niners. On the other hand, you could also say it reduces variance. And the Seahawks, being in a much better position than the Niners right now, want to reduce variance. So let's turn to the Rams a little bit here. So obviously the Rams-Bears game, which is going to be played on Sunday, does have some significant ramifications for the Seahawks. If they beat the Niners, then they will be playing whoever wins that Rams-Bears game. So a couple of things that we learned earlier today about the Rams and where they sit right now. First, Matthew Stafford did actually sprain his right index finger against the Carolina Panthers. He is fully expected to play. I don't think there's much of anything that could keep him off the field against the Bears in a playoff game. But it's worth noting that that game is projected to be in freezing temperatures. It is going to be sub 32 degrees, almost certainly. I don't know about rain or snow or anything like that, but the conditions are expected to be very extreme. And now you've got a very old, very worn down quarterback playing with a sprained right index finger. This could be this could be a big, big problem for a Rams team that is going to need to put up some serious points on Sunday to win because the Bears offense is playing very well right now and the Rams defense is having some real issues. So this is not going to keep him off the field, but don't be surprised if it affects his play. It definitely affected his play against the Panthers. He gutted it out. He gutted through it, but he did acknowledge the fact that it was bothering him, and he also acknowledged a big reason why he got through the game was adrenaline. So definitely keep an eye on this one as we go through the week, but it doesn't seem like Stafford is all there right now. And look, there is a long and established and relatively ironclad history of dome teams losing and losing pretty badly when they play in inclement weather in January. So the odds, we're getting to the point now where the odds are going to be stacked against this Rams team a little bit, I think. I know that it seems like a good matchup in theory, but I think the theory is starting to go out the window in favor of all these little things that are pointing in the Bears' way. The Bears obviously have their own problems. They lost Edwards in that Packers game, their linebacker. They lost their left tackle in that Packers game as well. So they've got their own issues. But you start doing the math in your head and you're like, wait a minute. Did the Rams really be favored in this game? I don't think so anymore. All right, so we got that, and also, by the way, Akello Witherspoon broke his scapula, so his season is done. Now, the Rams were not playing him a ton down the stretch anyway, but they are very thin at cornerback right now. They've had other injuries there. Josh Wallace is out, and he may not come back this week. So that Rams team does have some health issues right now. I think Kevin Dotson is still out. They've got at least one other notable injury going on right now. So they've got some issues going on right now in LA, and definitely worth monitoring as we go through this week because that Bears game is, I think, very, very compelling. And the conditions are going to make things an uphill battle for a dome team like LA. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. More stuff coming.